Hello and welcome. This is our Week 8 show of CAA Today. If you're watching on YouTube, you will notice a couple things have changed to the layout. I'm having problems with the Stream Kit overlay, so you don't see any live chat or you don't see the voice chat to see like who's in it right now. All the more reason for you to listen live because you can actually see what people are saying. But if you're seeing that, hopefully we get it back by week 9. But unfortunately for now, that's all we got. Real quick, we'll go through our week 8 games. Overall, pretty good week for the CAA. We went 8-4 and had a couple of really good games. First one here between Hampton and Duquesne. It was pretty slow, and a late turnover put the Dukes in trouble. They were only up 2 at the time. However, the deadline hit, and the Dukes escaped with a win against Hampton, 15-13. Next, we had Morgan State taking on Montana State in the finale of the MSU-MSU series. And I have called every single game in this series wrong, as Morgan State was able to avoid the sweep and get a win against Danny for the first time on the fourth try by a score of 26-17. And then next we had Robert Morris at Southern Utah. Southern Utah fell week 1 to Towson, but was able to defeat Robert Morris this week, squashing any momentum for the Colonials going into the final 4 weeks of conference play. Final score was 28-21. Next up, we had Towson playing Campbell at Football Field in some small town in Virginia. Towson keeps on sliding, but no worries because Mr. D is living it up down under with the sun. Campbell wins this one 35-13. Next, we had Mercer taking on Nova, and I thought it would be a defensive battle, but instead the offenses came to play, and Villanova was able to outshine Mercer and win 47-34. Youngstown State took on Mississippi Valley State in the OTC, and we saw Snoop fall to Brady, who was recovering after a small season decline. A small mid-season decline. The final score was a Delta Devils win by a score of 36-21. Keep moving along through these 12 out-of-conference games. We had Delaware at Wofford, and I called a steamrolling, but Delaware did even better than I thought. Final score was 41-14 Blue Hens. And next up was our Mid-Atlantic rivalry. We got Delaware State taking on Elon. The DSU offense came alive, and the defense was doing their part in this 38-point win for Delaware State. Final score was 61-23. We got Matt here with us. Talk us through that win, Matt.
Um, Everything just kind of clicked for the most part. I was expecting it to be a lot closer, but well, we will take a win like that. So, yeah.
Fair enough. A win's a win either way, whether you win big or win small. Next up, we had James Madison taking on Southeastern Louisiana in Nebraska. A slow game for the both of us. It hit the deadline. Not something I'm used to these days. But a lot more running after I took an early lead. Try to chew out as much clock as I could, take advantage of the chewing mechanism that we have. And I was able to win 31-13. There was about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So the game probably would have ended maybe 1 or 2 more scores, but nothing too drastic. There wasn't much time left on the clock for Hornet to get anything going. So I jumped to 5-3. And yeah. And next we had Richmond taking on North Dakota State in Europe somewhere. Don't really know where. And Richmond absolutely laid the boom on Sarah and Matt. The final score was 52-28. And after about halftime, this thing wasn't even close anymore. Zan has came alive really after a slow start to the season. He's turning into the Richmond coach that we all expected him to be, a top 15, top 10 type of coach. You'll see him ranked this week after 2 big wins, one against me and then one
I,
against North Dakota State.
I believe he's won 4 in a row now, because I think he started 1-3.
Yeah, I think it was like that week 5 or that out of conference or the week right before that he got right back on track. And so, yeah, it's good to see him playing well after he lost to you and then left. Next up, we had William and Mary at Houston Baptist, and literally nothing happened in this game. There's some interesting stats here that Matt will talk through, but final score was 23-6. Houston Baptist basically delayed a game out of it.
So this game was interesting. William Mary won this game. They had -2 yards of total offense and gave up, I believe, 82 rushing yards to Houston Baptist, but won off of 2 fumble sixes, and a delay of game penalty. So one of the strangest games you'll ever see. Didn't even make it out of the first quarter, I don't think.
Talk about winning in a different way than what we're used to. And finally, our game of the week was VMI taking on Jackson State. I don't really know where this one was being played, but they say it's at a neutral site, and so I will believe it. VMI was once down 21-14 at one point, pretty close. But then Sleeve was able to pull away and prove why he is a top 3 team as he wins 35-14. An interesting week outside of the CAA. We saw 2 other undefeated matchups. We had Eastern Washington taking on Kennesaw State, as well as Lafayette taking on Charleston Southern. So we only have 3 undefeated teams left in the division. So we'll see how those 3 teams finish out the season. Obviously, Jackson State, Eastern Washington, and Charleston Southern all picking up big wins this week. Our stat of the week, Morgan State, Montana State finishes off the season with a scoregami of 26-17, as well as the CAA South, one of the strongest divisions in the division. You good there, Matt?
Oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. No, you just scratched out, so I want to make sure you're not dead.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
The CAA South is above 500 after a 5-1 out of conference week. So the William and Mary and VMI are 4-4, and everyone else is 5-3, and has a 15-9 out of conference record, which is the best win percentage among any conference or division. Next up, what we got wrong, I missed Southern Utah. I tried to call an upset on Campbell Towson, but Campbell obviously won. I missed Delaware State, I missed Jackson State, and I missed Richmond. And then our player of the week was Delaware State running back Simon McLaughlin, who had 18 attempts for about 220 yards and 4 touchdowns. Matt, can you talk us through why you've been running a lot more this season, even though you are an air raid team?
Well, I've actually switched to spread recently. I found that I can just score close to 50 points a game, even if I take up the clock a little bit. So I just run to just churn out yards and take up time to to help compensate for my I think it's second to worst defense. So that's the main reason why I do it.
Fair. A phone call. Next up, we have our power rankings. I don't have a graphic for that. We were running kind of short on time. I have another phone call. One, we got Youngstown State, 35 points, 2 first place votes. 32 points, 1 first place vote. Then Delaware State, James Madison, and then VMI, William and Mary, Robert Morris, Morgan State, Duquesne, and Taos here and there, but overall, right where we expect these teams to be. Next up, we've got contender and pretender. I have Richmond again proving himself that he is a contender after taking down the top 6 team in Sarah and Matt at North Dakota State. And right on that, Sarah and Matt is my pretender. 2 losses in a row for this tandem. And it seems like they're going to be struggling to get back on their feet, especially in such a good conference as the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'll have my contender as Villanova. I feel like they've gotten really hot. I believe they've won 5 games in a row now, so that's really good. And then pretender, I've got Youngstown State. They just seem to get clapped by the best teams in the league, but they're always competitive. But I don't think it's quite enough.
I'll talk through Edges here because he is not here. He says his contender is Richmond, which makes sense because they just pulled off a huge win against good old North Dakota State. And then he says his pretender is Youngstown State as well, right along with Matt there. Just can't win against the big teams, and therefore that is his pretender. Moving on, we'll go through our Week 9 preview. First up, we have the Route 1 rivalry between Delaware and Delaware State. Both these teams with even records. Matt, take it away. I'll let you give me your thoughts on this one and maybe a prediction if you want it.
So, as you guys probably know, the South is just a clusterfuck at 5-3 and 4-4, and every team is within, I believe, 1.5 games of the lead. So every game that every team plays in the division is going to be extremely important. Delaware, I think he's on a little bit of a skid. This is really to come down to who scores last or who makes a special teams mistake first. Because you have the option clock controlling offense of Delaware against the number one offense in the entire country that's averaging 50 points a game. And then you have the worst defense, which is mine, against his his defense, which I believe does create turnovers at a pretty good clip. So it's going to be extremely close, probably pretty high scoring. I feel confident that I can pull it out. Like, let's go with 45-35.
That's a little bit higher than what I was thinking. I'm thinking your defense has been playing better. No, I mean, it's not good by any means. I mean, I'm not one to talk about defense being good, but I will say it's not the best. However, I mean, you held Elon to 23, and it's been not your worst part. It's not as bad as last season. I'll say that much. So I think it's gonna be a little bit low scoring. I'm going on the low end. It's gonna be somewhere around 24 to 17, something like that. Maybe 24-21. It'll be a close one, and I'm gonna pick Delaware State. I think they can pull this one off and jump back over Delaware in the power rankings. Next up, we
Yeah,
have.
I actually see edges here. Actually,
Oh, he is. Yeah,
got here.
right. Edge, go for it.
Yeah, for Delaware State, I think it's going to be a good one. For the sake of my schedule, I'm going to go with Delaware State about 38 to 30. Um, I just need I need someone to give me a potential top half win here. So
Yeah, those top half wins are very, very crucial. So we'll see who can pull it off. It wouldn't matter to me either way because I play both teams because they're both in the South. Uh, so it's a
And
so
we're
we'll
both
see
in the
how.
top 50 as well of comp.
Yeah, we'll see how these things work out. Next up, we've got Duquesne at Morgan State. Both these teams near the bottom of the CAA. Duquesne and Morgan State at the bottom of the CAA North, along with Towson. But they both have subs. Lancer at Duquesne and SMU, who I believe is Fugatti at Morgan State. And Morgan State just beat Montana State, who is a very, very good coach in Danny. So I'm going to pick Morgan State here. And I'm going to pick Morgan State by a pretty decent margin, actually. I'm going to go 38 to 21, Morgan State over Duquesne.
That's a fair prediction, but for me, this game is really tough to predict since both of these coaches historically are really good, both Lancer and SMU. It's going to be close, but I think Lancer is going to win something like 31-21, 31-23, somewhere in that range.
yeah, I think Lancer could definitely start making a run here. I have that one circled week 12. I play Duquesne if he's still coaching there. But Morgan State just got a really good win over Montana State, so I'm going to pick them to keep it rolling and win 35-31.
Next up, we've got VMI at James Madison. And this one, I got absolutely burned last season. I think the final score was something like 66 to 35 or something. It was not a fun day to be a Dukes fan. However, I think this season I'm catching VMI at a tough slide, and I lost to Richmond, but that was a good game, and I trended in the right direction against Sela, even though Sela is not the best school. So I'm gonna pick myself here. Actually, I think I can. I think I can hold my own here and get a revenge victory against the Keydets. He's beaten me 2 years in a row now. Or 2 seasons in a row, I should say. The first year I lost on a delay of game. The final score was 22 to 21, and then obviously last season I lost big. I'm gonna pick myself, and I'm gonna pick a high scoring one. It's gonna be 54 to 49, something like that. But go Dukes! I'm backing myself here.
All right. Personally, I think VMI is due for a win. I don't know how much it's going to be by, but he's going to win. I'll say 63-42, just because why not? And he'll help, or he'll help increase the division's maybe equivalent wins. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but there is a legitimate chance the whole division could be 5-4 after this week, which would be funny.
Yeah, that would definitely be something to see if the whole division's 5-4. I'm going to give the edge to James Madison here. I'll go really high scoring. I'm going to say like 72 to 50 something.
Fair enough. I will say the whole division can't be 5-4 because we do have Delaware
Oh
State
yeah,
at
you're right.
Delaware, which are both 5-3 teams. So one team, if if results go out one way, we could have five teams that are 5-4, and then one team that is 6-3, and that team will be in the driver's seat if VMI and William and Mary both win. But obviously, we never really know. Next up, we've got Richmond at William and Mary. Speaking of the devil, and I'm gonna pick Richmond here. They're hot and they're they're playing really good football. And we'll come back to this, or at least I'll circle back to this later in the listener questions because I see one that I like. But for me, give me Richmond and give me Richmond big. Give me Richmond 35-14.
This is another game in the South Division. I have a feeling that Zand is going to win, but I really want that every team at 5-4 or higher. But I think Richmond wins here. It's not. I don't know how much of the game is actually going to be finished, but so I'm just going to say 17-14, Richmond.
I mean, let's be honest. We all knew this was going to happen. Zand finally got rolling. He's not in control of the South, but he's definitely looking like one of the favorites. I just can't pick against him right now. I'm going to pick him to win pretty big. I'll say 42-24.
All right, next up we have. Sorry, I went away from the script there. We got Robert Morris at Towson, and someone just wrote. I honestly have no clue, and honestly, I'm right there with you. Whoever just wrote that in, this one could go either way. Robert Morris has shown some flashes of potential, but hasn't amounted to much in his coaching tenure here as the Colonials head coach. And Towson, it's always hard to count out Towson just because I mean it's Mr. D and the potential he showed last season was incredible. And I mean he won 6 out of his last 8 games, and so I I want Towson to win, but I just think he's so busy with his life that I think Robert Morris will pull this one out, and it's going to be a slow one. It's going to grind out over all 10 days. It'll get done eventually. Give me Robert Morris, low scoring 24-21.
Yeah, I have no clue legitimately who's going to come out on top here. But if I had to pick, let's just get Robert Morris 21-14.
I feel like every week I've been on here, I keep picking Towson to bounce back. And one of these weeks, I finally expect Mr. D to get it going. So I'll pick Towson again here. I'll say 35-28.
Eventually, you will speak it into existence, and he'll have you to thank for everything. When he gets this losing streak out of the way, he's lost 7 in a row. Next up, we've got Villanova at Youngstown State as our game of the week in the North. This one will put the winner in the driver's seat, and it'll be a good one. Nova lost their first 3 games of the season, but they're what 4-1 in conference, and I think Youngstown State is the same as well, at 4-1 in conference. And I'm gonna back
Yep.
a hot hand here. Villanova, uh, they've been on a win streak. They've won 5 straight. So give me the Wildcats and give me the Wildcats in a barn burner. I'm thinking somewhere around 50, 52, 49. I like the score 49 for some reason. But somewhere up at upper range. I think the offenses will get going in this one.
Yeah, I'd say I'll probably agree with you on that one. I think Nova's probably going to keep rolling here. They're going to win 45-42 on a late field goal.
I like the confidence in me. This is the game I've had circled on my schedule since last season. Um, and even though Bernie's gone, this is still going to be a big one. This one's going to be for the division most likely. I think my offense is going to kind of regress to the mean a little bit. It's been a bit high the last couple of weeks. I expect it to get back down to that kind of 30-point range that my average is at. I'll say I'll win it though. I'll go 33-28.
Fair enough. And normally we would go on to talk about the odds makers of the week here. However, we do
They are
not
not posted
have
yet.
those. Yeah, I think good old Jocks is out, and I don't think she's gonna be back for the rest of today. So I'm trying to pull up something here for the next segment as we move into our listener questions. The first question here from McNeese says, "What are your opinions on the St. Francis game?" And I couldn't. Oh, sorry. Thoughts on St. Francis, and was this a basketball game or a game of poker? Um, I couldn't tell you. I didn't pay attention that much, if I'm being honest. So I'm gonna try and find it here. Do any of you guys know what he's talking about off the top of your head?
Honestly, I got no clue, but all I know is that the final score of that game was 75-68 St. Francis.
Oh, so it was a basketball game. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So sometimes the offenses get going, and sometimes you're calling the right numbers, and there's nothing that the defense can do to stop it. So I won't say it's a basketball game. I will say that sometimes the defenses do struggle to do things like that. Next question here from What's Up. Who's a team that looks to be in the playoffs at the moment, but you think will collapse and miss the playoffs? I'm going to go a bit controversial here. I think we're in the middle of a collapse. From Sarah and Matt at North Dakota State. They were 6-0. They were ranked number 1 at one point, or at least I ranked them number 1, and they were up there with a ton of first place votes. But I think they're collapsing, and I don't think they can recover, especially in a conference as tough as the Missouri Valley. I think they've already fallen out of favor in their division, and so I think we're going to see North Dakota State miss the playoffs. And I say that with a heavy heart because I want to see them win.
That's a fair point. I will say either North Dakota State or Southeastern Missouri, I believe is the name of the school, with Deckham. He's been really struggling as of late too. So he started 4-1 and now he's 5-3, I believe. I believe he's also in the middle of a possible collapse to end the season. And he plays in the MVC, which is a very, very tough division or conference.
I think he plays in the Delta, if I'm not mistaken, not the MVC.
That's also a tough conference this year. So
yeah, the Delta. Delta is still a pretty tough conference. So the point still stands. Just correcting your conference knowledge.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just looking at the roughly top 24 of comp right now. And I'm gonna go with Brown. No offense to you, Josh, you're a really good coach, but I think we both know we kind of fit solidly into average gang. It's just the Ivy's so tough. And bottom half of that top 24 in comp right now, there's so many Ivy teams, and I think they're all going to be kind of duking it out to get maybe 2 or 3 spots.
I mean, if Brown doesn't make it in, I mean, I can easily see them getting a high NIT bid, since there's 24 teams in the NIT.
There's 16, but yeah, I think they'll definitely get in postseason, either playoffs or NIT. And how they do, well, that's up to Josh. Next up, we've got Bo asking thoughts on South Dakota State. I'm not the biggest fan of South Dakota. I will say they're right above me, as I live in Nebraska. They're to the north, and I don't have a particular favor of them. I know that the Omaha baseball team is absolutely wrecking them this week. They've had a doubleheader yesterday. I think they defeated them in both games. I think they won today as well. And so South Dakota State, not the biggest fan. Obviously, Bo, great coach, but just personal grudges against South Dakota State.
So South Dakota State, their most recent game was a 44-3 win over Southern Illinois. So I'd say that they're pretty good, I'd say. But other than that, I'm kind of indifferent.
I don't know if this question is supposed to be about FCFB or just in general, but all I've got to say is North Dakota State's better.
Well, those are your controversial opinions for the day. Next up, from Charleston Southern, a thoughtful question. He says, "Tell me how your day is going." It's been pretty good. Yeah, I went out in the morning. I delivered. I packed some boxes. Gave some food to people in need. So it was a good morning. Now I'm gonna chill, do some homework, watch some baseball, not baseball, basketball, and spend the rest of my Sunday lightly. Got a busy week ahead. Soccer's getting into the full swing of things right now, so we'll see how life goes from here. What about you guys?
We're going good. Probably gonna do some work and then watch some basketball. It's that time of the year, so I might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, it's been solid for me. Went out to eat. Restaurant was a little bit more crowded than I would have liked, but yeah, I'm doing good today.
Good to hear all around. Next up, we've got Josh asking, "Who's winning this Syracuse versus Western Virginia game?" I got the orange, and he said that a while ago, and boy was he correct. Syracuse is up 30-19 as it stands. About 3 minutes left to go before halftime, and I think I had West Virginia winning this one. However, my bracket's way past busted, so now it's just me rooting for the upsets because I had Illinois winning, and they're obviously out now. So I just want every upset team to win. And on the backs of this, I will ask you guys. You can answer this question, but I'll ask one right after. I'll ask you guys to predict the rest of the games, and we'll see how that goes. But go ahead and answer this Syracuse West Virginia one real quick.
You can never count out Coach Boeheim, so I am really hoping for them to just blow the doors off of West Virginia for an eventual Elite Eight and meet up with Loyola.
I had San Diego State beating West Virginia in my bracket, so I'm just kind of indifferent to this game right now and just enjoying watching some basketball.
All right, the next game that happens in about 10 minutes is Texas Tech at Arkansas. Who do you guys have in that one? I'm going Texas Tech because my economics teacher is a Texas Tech fan.
I'm going to go with Arkansas. I just don't think Texas Tech can keep up with that offense of theirs.
I got Texas Tech too. For no real reason. I just look at some basic stats when I pick my bracket, and I'd like to have my bracket not be completely ruined by the end of the second round, so I'm still pulling for them.
Honestly,
right.
whose bracket isn't completely screwed after all the 14-3 upsets this past round? So.
Yeah, what a win by Abilene Christian last night. My favorite part was the player that did the horns down on live television was a bench player who didn't play a single minute, and he
Oh, that's
was still
funny.
celebrating. And I found that very interesting. All right, at
And there are
6:10
no more
p.m.
perfect brackets.
That is
All
true.
right.
Yeah, I saw that after that one. Oh, I just left the app on accident. Next game we have at 6:10 p.m. Central, 7:10 Eastern. Rutgers versus Houston. I'm taking Houston in this one. What about you guys?
Houston.
Yeah, I think Houston will take that one pretty easily.
Fair enough. All right, and here's a big one. 6:45 Central, 7:45 Eastern. Oral Roberts versus Virginia. Sorry, Oral Roberts versus Florida, not Virginia. Um, Omaha's in the Summit League. Oral Roberts came from the Summit League. They were the Summit League champions. So you know what? I'm gonna back the Summit League champions. They've got two of the leading scorers in the nation. Give me Oral Roberts to continue this 15 seed run.
Yes, I would like to see Oral Roberts win as well.
Florida was the first team to kind of bust my bracket. I had Virginia Tech go into the Elite Eight, so I'm going for Oral Roberts. some revenge.
Yeah, my bracket was busted after the first game because of this win. I had Tech winning as well, and so Florida can lose hopefully. Next up, we've got North Texas taking on Villanova. And while I said Omaha and Oral Roberts were in the same conference, so I was going to root for Oral Roberts, Villanova and Creighton are in the same conference. However, I dislike Villanova very much. That game at 7:45 p.m. Central, 8:45 Eastern. I'm rooting for North Texas, and I hope they just blow the doors out of Villanova.
Personally, I kind of want Villanova to win, but North Texas winning would be fun too. So I'm whichever one causes the most chaos is the one that I want.
Yeah, I never liked Villanova before I joined the FCS here in FCFP. But now that I've been here, I kind of formed some sort of attachment to them. So I'm pulling for Villanova.
Fair enough. And the final game of the day at 8:40 Central, 9:40 Eastern, Oregon State versus Oklahoma State. I'm back in Oklahoma State here because they have a player from Nebraska. His name is Donovan Williams. He's a freshman. He was a 4-star recruit out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And so I'm pulling for him to get pretty far in the tournament this season.
I'm going to go with Oregon State because I feel like their game against Loyola would be a lot of fun in the next round. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've got Oklahoma State here.
Fair enough. And finally, what's the final game? Oh, that's it. Sorry, there's a final question. The final question here is from Western Illinois. He says, "What teams on win streaks will continue to win?" And I've got two right here in the CAA for you. I think Richmond on their 5-game win streak, Richmond on their 4-game win streak, and Villanova on their 5-game win streak are going to continue to climb that mountain until it eventually crashes when they play each other or when they lose a game. We'll see how those games turn out. So give me Nova and give me Richmond in their win streaks continuing.
Yeah, I can hop on that train. I think Nova and Richmond will keep winning. And I'm honestly confident in this point that Black will keep winning too.
I mean, I wouldn't be a good coach if I wasn't picking myself to keep this win streak going. I'm still hoping for that 9-3 ideal finish, and hopefully that could be, that would be good enough to get me in the CAA championship game. Hopefully, it might be good enough to get me into the playoffs too.
I think 9-3 is a pretty solid record to bring into the playoffs, especially because you've got 2 games left.